Well. Oh man, what's up, brother? You're already in here. Let's see. I don't know what I'm going to talk about. I just, for some reason, decided that going live on this platform would be a good idea because I've never done it before, and I haven't just done like a regular live in a long time, and there's a bunch of projects going on, so I figured at least I would have things to talk about. Mr. I've never tried to say your last name out loud before. Fontecchio? Fontecchio? Fontecchio. I need a beverage. Hold, please. All right. How's everybody doing? Everybody alive? Everybody well? Fontecchio. I'm not gonna lie, Fontecchio has a little bit of pizzazz to it. Okay. So here's what's going on. Yeah, cheers. Beverage does sound good. Go get yourself a beverage and enjoy what's going on in the brief moments of levity that we have in this world at the moment. Here's what's popping. It's going to be a rough one already. Words are hard. I have a handful of projects that are kind of done and or nearing completion because I have to teach them very, very soon. So we can talk about those. Hey, Pete's in the house. What's up? Oh, Keith. I'm sorry that Keith's bothering you right now, Petey. Yeah, I can fix that situation if you like. I've also got a bunch of ash pieces that have been veneered over there, which the first video should come out on that project this weekend. And I'm currently working on doing some woodworker math to figure out the bent lambs for that piece. So let me know what you guys want to talk about, and we can talk about any and all of them. Because why the hell not? Am I going to do any more road trip camping this summer? I'm actually hoping to get some camping in like early spring up in Maine when it's still nice and cold. That's one of my hopes. But no, actually, I'm going to head to Switzerland for my normal kind of summer break to spend some time with my partner out there. Let's see. From Albuquerque. What's up, Albuquerque? I'm sure. Do people even get that reference anymore? Turn left at Albuquerque. I don't know if that's a thing that people still know, but I'm also sure that it gets old that everybody probably pronounces it Albuquerque. God, sometimes I wonder why you guys follow me and listen to the dumb things that come out of my mouth. You've taken the 2-day class in April. That's amazing. I hope you do take it. It's going to be great. And that's actually the ash piece that I'm working on. So we can chat about that momentarily. I used to think you came off a bit pretentious. I mean, listen, I can come off a bit pretentious, and you know what? I can even be a bit pretentious. I understand that. But you know, I hope that doesn't come off too aggressive because, listen, we're all just trying to figure out how to be a human on this earth and get through this existence. And the thing that brings us all together is making things out of wood. So hopefully that community transcends my pretense. Any plans to come to Georgia? No, none whatsoever. Not right now. Hey, I'm going back down to Florida on Thursday, though. That's going to be a delight. Also, Golden Monkey. This is going to hit just right. Taking both of the classes at Mark Adams. That's fantastic, brother. That's going to be great. We can all be a bit pretentious. That is, listen. We as a community have decided that we are going to take up a hobby or a profession in which we make our own furniture, make our own home furnishings, build our own homes. Like there's a little bit of pretentiousness just in that idea of like, I'm going to look at a thing that people have spent decades and centuries figuring out how to build and design well, and I'm going to do it better. You know, like there's no way you can do that and not be pretentious. Can somebody get me to Australia, please? I would really love to get to Australia at some point. I've been talking to my now buddy Nick Padula out there quite a bit, and my dear friend Daisy Tempest just moved to Sydney as well. So I just got an email from American Airlines saying there are cheap flights to Australia. I can't do it this moment, but I feel like that's a sign. I got to get out there. All right. What are the pros and cons of working in a shared shop? Ooh, that's a great question. We'll get into projects momentarily, but that's a good question to start on. Pros and cons of working in a shared shop. So first of all, there are 3 of us in this shop. So if you're unfamiliar, this is my bench right here, my area. Larissa's bench is right there, and Amanda, this is doing it in mirror. Amanda's bench is over there. I don't know how to do this in a mirrored situation. Plenty of space. So we have like the bench space over here, and then we have the machine shop over there. Machine area over there. I mean, listen, I would say the pros outweigh the cons readily, easily. One of my favorite things, and this is true from the time I was teaching as well, is being in here and kind of getting my quiet time, my alone time, my fall into the work time to reorient my brain and figure out what I need to do for the day. And then, people walk in and it becomes a communal experience. We can all do our work independently, but we also bounce ideas off each other all the time. I would go absolutely insane if I was in my shop by myself all the time. It would be a bad mental and emotional situation for me. So having people around just to break up the monotony is really important. And the fact that we have very different schedules is actually it's a really positive thing. I'm in here all the damn time. Larissa has a part-time job. She works 1 day a week at the Wharton Eschricht Museum, so she's out on Fridays. Amanda has a full-time job, so she's typically only here like in the evenings or the weekends, though sometimes she'll do some work out of here just to get out of her apartment. And that balance of we all have our time in here alone, but we all have that communal time as well is wonderful. Now, the cons, sometimes like things move and you don't quite know where they went. Sometimes it's just, I don't know, like there's not really a big con. There's just make sure you communicate with people, that's really the biggest thing, is if you communicate well with your shop mates, hopefully there are no real issues. So I think the biggest con would be sometimes I have to record like talking head segments and they're in here and they need to get work done. So like that's never an issue. We just communicate about it, but it can be a thing of like, oh, I didn't realize you were going to be in today. That kind of thing. I would say pros 10 out of 10, cons like 1 out of 10, 2 out of 10, what it is. Let's see. Any plans for a trip to Denmark? I wish. I don't have any reason to go to Denmark yet. North Carolina, what's popping? If you had to start your business over again, how would you approach it differently? Ooh. I don't know that I have an answer to that. My approach has been kind of from the very beginning. I guess the rule that I have is the object always has to have priority over profit, over deadlines, over content even. And that's not a good business model. Let's just be straight up about that. That's a terrible business model, in fact. But I think it's really important for me to kind of maintain the sanctity of the object and try to be a good woodworker rather than a good business person, a good YouTuber, a good content creator, whatever it is. And I don't think I would change that if I did it again. I don't know how it would change if I were to start over from zero again, because I have a lot more knowledge now about how business works than I did 10 years ago. But that's for that's a non-answer, but it's the best I can do. Sorry. Dead nuts in this house. Cheers, buddy. Nobody got mad at me for saying dead nuts. I do wonder where it came from, but then nobody got mad at me. Let's see. Still on the shop subject. What size shop would be the best if you had the standard equipment for a professional woodworker? I think that depends on the scale of the object you're making and the quantity of the objects you're making. So what I mean by that is this shop space is great for the three of us. This is somewhere around 1,500 square feet, plus or minus. I don't remember if it's 1,700 or 1,300, but it's somewhere in that range. And it works really well for three people. The reason it works really well for three people is because none of us make huge objects. I made a couple of big things. I'm about to make one more big thing. But on the whole, I typically make kind of mid-size furniture. Larissa is kind of mid-size to smaller, and Amanda skews towards the smaller. So if we were making larger pieces, then something a little bit bigger or having one less person in here might be a necessity. If you're doing a lot of turnover work, like let's say you're doing kitchens, this is nowhere near big enough, because what happens often when you're in production cabinetry is you have to make the thing, you have to stage the thing, and you have to hold the thing until it's ready for install. And all three of those stages are happening on different projects at different times. So for us in this moment, 15 to 1,800 square feet is phenomenal. If I was a one-man shop, that's probably more than enough for kind of my rate of work. Let's see. Oh, you guys are coming in hot with the questions now. I think most of us understand the importance of some social interaction after COVID. That's a fair point. We do understand how important that is. Let's see. When you come up with an idea, what's your process from design to end result? Ooh. Do you hand sketch or use CAD? I use both. I sit with an idea for a long time before it ever hits paper or CAD program, because I have to get, now this is unique to, well, I don't know about unique. Maybe that's not the right word. Maybe that's too self-congratulatory. This is how my brain works, is I need to develop the thing far enough to where I'm very confident of where I want it to go. And only then will it hit paper or CAD program, because if I do it too soon, it's not developed. It's like an ethereal idea, and that can ruin the whole thing. It's like taking a cake out of the oven too soon. Like, you got to let it bake, and then you got to let it cool, and then you got to frost it. So it's a multi-step process. But I'll do both, and sometimes I'll make models. Like this last one, I made a model for, and you can see that same idea. The base changed, of course, but like that happened. This is a mock-up of an old shelving unit that I made. So like that happens. A lot of times I'll draw it in like charcoal so that it still kind of exists in that like ethereal, no hard lines to kind of limit the idea. So I don't know, everybody works differently, There's a lot of people who are far more efficient and better at the design process than I am. Let's see. Any advice for cutting weird angles on oddly shaped pieces that don't fit the table saw or bandsaw? I wish I knew more about what that means. Cutting weird angles on oddly shaped pieces. I mean, chisels, handsaw, like feathering it in with a hand plane. This is where early on in my career, I was something of a Luddite, a little bit of a hand tool purist, But it didn't stem out of like the thought that hand tools are better than machines. It came from a place of growing up in the trades and in construction and knowing that I knew how to use machines. I knew how to manipulate machines. But I also knew that machines had limitations, a la your question, it sounds like. And I knew that developing hand tool skills would enable me to work around whatever problems or limitations I had on machines. And it might be done slower, but at least it could be done. And I hate building jigs. So I didn't want to build a jig to do a thing when I could just, take out a handsaw, a chisel, or a hand plane and get it done that way. So hand planes, I don't know. Without any kind of visual understanding of what you're trying to do, I would guess hand tools are the way to go. Oh, let's see. What do you do when a client, family member, full stop right there, you're already in a pickle, lacks the vocabulary to imagine or express a design? Oh, this one hurts. But wants to steer how a design is formed. I'm struggling with this. Steven, buddy, I feel your pain on that. And I feel like a lot of people feel your pain on that. Please don't take offense to this, because I don't mean it to be offensive in any way, because this was a lesson that I had to learn. I don't know how good you are at the thing. So it's hard to say, because it's a little bit like, if you're good at the thing and they lack the self-awareness to trust you, that's one thing, and just don't make it for them. But if you're earlier on in the journey and somebody is asking you to do a thing and they're trying to kind of direct you or strong arm it a little bit, there's a lot of value looking back on it. There was a lot of value for me to just accepting the limitations and being like, if you want an ugly thing, I'll make you an ugly thing. There's technique to be learned. There's doing it wrong teaches you a lot about what's right. So, like, if you've been doing it a long time and you know what's going to work, you just look them in the eyeball and you go, listen, I can't do that for you. Here's what I will do. And I'm just going to need you to trust me on this. And if they can't do that, don't build it for them. There's been plenty of times where I've looked my brother, my sister, my mother in the eye and go like, no, I'm not going to do it. Sorry. Like, I need the creative freedom to make the best decision that I can for the piece at the time I'm making it. And if you can't give that to me, then just order it off of Amazon. I hope that was helpful, brother. Let's see. Before YouTube, what was your strategy or tactic to get commissions, advertising, or word of mouth? Mostly shows, but it was a while ago. I was still doing a lot of craft shows, furniture shows, trade shows, that kind of thing. Working with designers can be very good, but it's for those of us who want creative expression in this medium, working with designers is a nightmare. And I don't mean that as offense to any designers out there. I've worked with some really fantastic designers and had really positive experiences, but the majority of them have an idea and they want it done that way. And there is no voice. You're the craftsperson at that point. You're not the artist or the designer, which is fair. That's a role to play. But that was a way I paid my bills for a while. And there's a reason that I didn't want to do it anymore. Let's put it that way. Let's see. Any tips to flatten wavy walnut burl? Yeah, super soft. Like, that's it. Just spray the crap out of it with super soft. Or are you talking about like solid burl rather than a veneer? I lost that question. Where did it go? Boo, 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 boo. Okay, well, I can't find it again, but let's say if it is, oh, okay, there, walnut, bro. No, it's veneer. Yeah, super soft. Just order super soft off from Veneer Supplies, or I think Rockler sells it as well, maybe. And just spray the crap out of it and dry it, and it will be super flexible for a week, 2 weeks, something like that. Could not believe your podcast partners had not heard of Open the Kimono. There were times I said something else recently, and they both looked at me like I had two heads. And I was like, guys, I feel like I live in a bubble, and I feel like you guys live in more of a bubble. John up north, what's up, brother? The internet tells me dead nuts came from machine shop. Saying that something is 0.0000, you'd say it's 4 knots, which turned into dead knots and then dead nuts. Is that true? That's interesting. That's interesting. I could see, like, that sounds legitimate, but that could also be just like AI said that. That's interesting, though. All right, let's see. Acquired a number of burls, cut one by hand, very hard. If you don't have a bandsaw, you have any idea how I should do it? Oh, if you're gonna slice up 4 veneers, buy a bandsaw. Don't make your life harder than it has to be. But if you are going to do it by hand, number one, you could build a jig and do it on the table saw. I don't recommend it. Hear me now. I do not recommend it, but it can be done. And the other thing you could do is slice them by hand. You can create essentially, like, if you were to think of like a bow saw, and then you were to put a guide on one side so that as you're cutting, this kind of bridge is riding along the outside of the piece, and then you can move on. That's how they used to slice veneers, before we had bandsaws and everything was harder than it needs to be. Gonna jump off. You got a Zoom meeting. Appreciate you, Chris. Do you think making bespoke furniture can be sustainable as a single source of income without getting into the side hustle like YouTube? Man. Nathaniel? I don't know if that's a variation on Nathaniel. That's hard, man. It's really hard. I tried to do it for a long time. It's really hard. I will say this. I do not think genuinely that there has ever been a time that building bespoke pieces of furniture, one-off pieces of furniture, not production work, has ever been a sustainable income for any person, genuinely. And going back to, what we think of like proper craft and like high craft, let's say, Queen Anne chairs or Macintoshes, whatever the situation is, those were all production pieces. They were done by hand because that was the technology available at the time, but they were production pieces. And now in the era of like the studio furniture maker, every single furniture maker I have ever known and every furniture maker that I have ever studied or read up on extensively, including kind of the archetypes of the Nakashimas, the Maloofs, the Eshricks, etc., none of them paid their bills exclusively from one-off pieces of furniture. Maloof was a production worker, right? Like he had a production line of chairs. George Nakashima was an interior designer. He was an architect. He was he did production work as well. He was a farmer before he was that. Eshrick did a million other things. Every contemporary furniture maker I know of now is a teacher, a writer, and now the younger generations are content creators. So I don't want to squash any dreams. Maybe it is possible. I haven't met anybody who doesn't also do a number of other things. Larissa works at the Wharton Eschrick Museum. Amanda works for Fine Woodworking. I make content. Adrian Ferrazzuti teaches. Alan Lewis teaches. Even the guys that like Chris Becksforts of the world, who are like, you know, he was the furniture makers, you know, the shaker guy. He was writing for Fine Woodworking once to twice a quarter for 10 years, you know? So it's hard, man. I don't know. I think this is an art form. If you're making one-off pieces, I think this is an art form that gets treated like a craft, because it has elements of both, in fairness. But I think there's always going to be multiple ways to make an income. Let's see. Because why not is the good version of I have a great idea. That's fair. Do you make more money off of YouTube or actual woodworking? That's a fair question. YouTube, not even close. To the question I just answered for like 10 minutes, it's really hard to do only furniture. I don't know a single person who does it and is successfully paying their bills without either coming from money or really struggling for money. So the YouTube economy is a better economy than the amount of people who are willing to pay you, you know, multiple thousands of dollars for an object. It's just how it is. How was the proportion of hand tools, machine tools changed over the course of your career? That's a great question. I don't know. I am more of the opinion now, at this moment in my career, that the finished object brings me more joy than the process. I don't know if that's 100% true. I am more curious about whether or not I can do a thing than how I do the thing. Maybe that's a better way to put it. So whether I can achieve an effect, whether I can get a certain visual, whether the composition as a whole works, rather than like how I'm actually going about making the thing. So I still use hand tools all the damn time. And when there's an opportunity to do so, I still very much enjoy and take a lot of enjoyment out of it. So I tended toward hand tools more at the beginning because I didn't have the machines. And now I use the hand tools as a way to, break up the monotony of machining. But I don't know if that fully answers the question. Guys, if you've not noticed, I can't just say yes or no to a question. I have to give a 10-minute answer to a relatively simple question. I'm going to try to go through these a little bit quicker. What brew am I drinking? Golden Monkey, baby. Let's go. All right, let's see. I lost my place again. For a beginner woodworker, what would be the first and second hand planes that you would recommend, appreciate, if you can mention the manufacturer or model? This is my favorite hand plane in the world. This is a number 4, an old Stanley from, this has got a 1910 stamp on it. So this is probably between 1910 and 1913 or 14, I think was that run. The reason I love this plane is because it has sapwood in the handle. It's such a dumb reason to love a plane. But I really do love this plane. This is a great one. If you're going to have a bench plane, either a number 4 or a number 5, the old Stanleys are great. If you've got the money, the Lee Nielsen's are great as well. And whether it's a standard or a half, it doesn't matter. This is an old 4.5. This one's a little bit older. It lacks the stamp. If I remember correctly, the dating on this was somewhere around like the 1890s. Beautiful plane. Really, really wonderful. And then, like I said, if you can afford the Lee Nielsen or the Veritas, the number 5s, 4 or 5, they're all fantastic. So that would be one, either a 4 or 5 from either an old Stanley, Veritas, or Lee Nielsen. And then for my money, and this is all personal preference, remember, this is one of the best damn planes on the market. and this is the 102 from Lee Nielsen. The reason I like this is because it's smaller than your standard 60.5 block plane, so it fits really comfortably in one hand for me. It's brass, so it's sexy. And then, of course, my dear friend Jenny Bauer engraved this one for me, and this will forever be one of my favorite tools that I own. So number 4, number 5, and a small block plane. That would be my advice. Oh, let's see. Is it pork roll or Taylor? It's pork roll, bro. What are we even doing out here anymore? Can you look for a communal shop or a makerspace in your area that will let you use their bandsaw? Oh, that's a good point. Yeah. Absolutely. Try to rent time from somebody with a bandsaw to cut up that burl. As a beginner, I feel like my biggest hindrance has been holding my work stable when working on it, especially a 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch. Any recommendations for keeping work stable? Do you mean like hand tool work on a bench? Because like a simple plane stop or hold fast would do the job there. Obviously, a good vise is super important. If you're talking about machining, it depends on the scale of your machine, and like 0 clearance throat plates on the table saw and on the bandsaw are going to go a long way to helping that. Let's see. I'm starting to clean out and reorganize my shop. Any advice on things I should think about before I start? Clean out and reorganize your shop. Just do it. Just get rid of shit. And don't worry too much about the ramifications, because if it's my kind of rule of thumb is if I haven't looked at it in a year, it's gone. Get it out of my space. I've got too many things, too much crap in here. Just get it out. So maybe that's a good rule of thumb for you. Oh, are you naturally detail oriented? Hard stop. No, absolutely not. Or did I have to develop that skill? Yes. And if so, any tips other than practice? I'm working on that method, but it takes too long. Everything worth doing takes too long, my friend. No, I'm not naturally detail oriented. I'm fairly naturally chaotic. But I'm also, how do I say this without sounding like a sociopath? When I fall in love with something, I do become obsessed with it a little bit. And I think that's just what happened with furniture. Everything is kind of broad strokes. And then I found this thing that was kind of the perfect cross section of manly carpentry. Like I could be a machismo tool bag when I was 18, 20. And what I realized later on was a desire for some level of self-expression. And because I found that thing that I loved and wanted to do, then I just became obsessed with being good at it. And I learned that I had to be detail oriented in order to make that happen. So any advice on how to develop that skill? Read George Walker and Jim Tolpin's what's the name of that book? Their design book, By Hand and Eye, which is boring as hell. By Hound and Eye is kind of the designing furniture for idiots version. Worth a read, 100%. And read that and go look at furniture and observe. Something I learned from David Upfill Brown, who was one of my teachers at CFC. He's a furniture maker and a sculptor, and he's brilliant. He told me that one of the hardest things to learn is to see properly, to like look at a thing and really see it rather than just like the broad strokes or like, et cetera, et cetera. Like look at the whole thing, consume the wide view and the close up. That I think is the skill worth developing rather than trying to focus on how to develop your own sense of detail. Because once you notice and are able to see and absorb information in other people's work, then that will inevitably influence your own work. So read, and go to museums and like look at things and look at contemporary furniture makers, go to galleries and see what is being done at a high level. I hope that's helpful. Let's see. The widest slab you would use before using thinner pieces for laminated? I don't know. The widest I would never like what's the limit? If it's a tabletop, however wide the slab is. Yeah, I mean a piece of wood is stable if it's machined and dried properly. So I'm not worried about that in any way. It's just whatever I can get my hands on. Second question or request. I have collected hand planes for years before I ever found someone who uses them like you. Do you have beginner type classes on restoring, adjusting, and using them? That's a great question, Norma. In October at a place called Maker Camp in upstate New York, we will be continuing to do the restoration station. Hey, we got a little thing here. My amazing, wonderful, incredible friend Nancy, Fox Hollow Rustics on Instagram, Nancy Drum. She's one of the baddest bitches out there, truly. And she put together this thing called the Restoration Station, which is people learning how to restore and use hand planes for free. Just come to the event, and you can literally restore a tool and take it home at no charge. And I will be there again this year. And it's a wonderful time. So that's the best place to do it. I don't have any like hand tool basic skills on the schedule as far as a class goes, but maybe I should think about how to do that for next year. That's a good pull. Let's see. Other than Maloof, Nakashima, Eshrik, Farazuti, are there any other woodworkers you would recommend a beginner to study? There's so many of them. Why does this keep jumping around? Okay. There's so many of them. Let's think. Alad Lewis was one of my teachers. David Upfill Brown was one of my teachers. Tom Keeley, I'm going to say this. I don't mean this picking on him because he is the person who has said this over and over. He is not the world's best designer, but that dude can build anything. He is such a brilliant technician of the craft. He is worth studying his work. And he was John Makepeace's lead carpenter for a number of years. So there's a lot of good work in there. Yuri Kobayashi is one of the best in the game. And I adore Yuri as a maker, a teacher, all of the things. Who else is out there? Karina Steele, one of my favorite people on the planet, makes these amazing wall hangings. Her furniture is amazing too, but she hasn't been making furniture lately. But she takes thick ash veneers and curls them up into chips and paints them and then hangs them in different ways to create these images. She's brilliant. Let's see. There's so many. I'll keep thinking on that and keep naming, but that's a handful for you right there. How do you turn down work when you know it costs more to custom build instead of commercial bought? How do you turn down work when you know? Yeah. Context. My brother wants me to make bunk beds. Tell him no. I mean, it's anytime somebody comes to you, and this includes family, anytime somebody comes to you and asks you to, if they say, hey, I saw this thing on X, Amazon, Wayfair, Pottery Barn, West Elm, it doesn't matter where they saw it. I saw this here. Can you build it for me? The answer is immediately no, because they are going to be offended at the fact that whatever you build for them costs 10 times as much. And that's just the nature of building one-offs versus production work. If they want that object, go buy it. If they want something different, then maybe you can have a conversation about it. But I just say very simply, like the realities of making one-off furniture versus production work is not the same, and it can't be done for the price point that you're asking. That's all there is to it. Take 5 minutes to talk about your time at CFC in Maine. I live here and never heard of it until you said something in one of your videos. It is a brilliant place. I will always have a deep affection for CFC because of the opportunities that have arisen out of that place and my time there. I mentioned Alan Lewis a couple of times already in this live stream, and he was the main teacher. Now, this was 2012. I was 24 when I went there. And I got waitlisted because I didn't have any experience making furniture. And if ever you wondered how weirdly obsessed with being a furniture maker I became and how hard-headed I could be about it, I got waitlisted. And I literally sent Peter Korn, who was the founder and director, and Dari Higby, who is kind of like in charge of letting people into their main program, the Marquee, the 9-month. I got waitlisted and I sent them a follow-up email that was like, I mean, it was a short novella that basically said, I think you're making a mistake, and not in like a you turned me down and now I don't like it kind of thing. But I was like, listen, I know I have no experience. I know I will know the least at the beginning of the year. I know that I will take a lot of resources as far as instruction goes, but I will be the first one in every day. I will be the last one out every day. And I guarantee you by the end of the year, I will have been one of the best students in the class. And eventually I got in. I don't think it had anything to do with that email, but I did get in. And the truth is, at that time, I was married at that moment, and we lived an hour and a half away because she got a job teaching. So I commuted an hour and a half every day for, 9 months. And I was the first person in, the last person out every day. And I worked my ass off for 9 months. And I think that has, I don't know, imbued in me this idea of like, if you want it, just go fucking do it, man. Like, it's going to be hard. It's hard. I took out a high interest loan because I couldn't get like a school loan to go do that. But I knew that was the thing I was going to do, and damn it, I wasn't going to let anybody tell me I couldn't do it. It's a brilliant place. It's a phenomenal school. And that has been one of kind of the key linchpins in my career over the years, for sure. Oh, let's see. What would you use your homemade recipe on a walnut desktop? Yeah, I use that. Listen, I want to clarify. I didn't invent that finish. That's a ripoff of the Maloof finish, right? It's a variation on it, but it's a ripoff of it. But that being said, yeah, I use it for a whole mess of crap. And it's fantastic. I think the only thing that I wouldn't use it for is like anything that needs to be food safe for obvious reasons. But tabletops, desktops, et cetera, would I tend to finish on a walnut desktop? Probably. Yeah. Walnut just changes so fast. I've got this piece that I called the Atlas table. I've shown it a couple of times on the channel. Some of you may have seen it. And it's a pivotal piece for me in a number of ways for a number of reasons, but it's also a very deeply emotional piece. And it's coming up on 10. No, it's maybe coming up on 9 years old. But it's getting to the point where I can start to see the orangey coming out of the walnut. And I've been thinking about potentially refinishing it because of that. So it's just one of those things, like walnut, any other wood, it's great. It's natural as it ages, but walnut gets that bright orange over time. And that just kind of makes me sad. Oh, let's see. I make furniture and other things, but my main source of income is finished carpentry. Yeah. Yeah, installing cabinets and trim. Hey, built-ins are where the money is. Whether it's kitchens, whether it's like large scale built-ins. If the wood is attached to the house, then it is considered a home improvement and increases the value of the house. And consequently, people pay multitudes more for a built-in than they do for the same exact piece if it was freestanding. Also, fun fact, depending on the state, but in most states, if it's a freestanding piece of furniture, you're supposed to charge sales tax on it. If it's a built-in, you don't have to. So that's just how it goes. Oh, let's see. It's brass, so it's sexy. That's true. Oh, I'm behind on these comments. All right, I'm gonna try to catch up. What brand is the square in the board right behind you? This one. That one's from Pinnacle. Guys, okay. So I just said I was gonna try to catch up, but now it's story time. The year is 2009. Young Eric had just graduated college. And I don't know if you guys remember the year 2009, but the economy was so good. It was 10 out of 10. It was a great time to graduate and head into the workforce. And consequently, I was working at Starbucks because it's the only place that had a job opening. And long story short, go through that year, whatever it is, February, March 2010, and I get a tax return, and I had I think it was around $1,000. And guys, I did not grow up with money, and that was one of the poorest periods of my life. And also, again, the economy was in the crapper. So $1,000, I felt like Richie Rich, guys. And I swear to God, this is not an exaggeration. I walked into Woodcraft for the very first time with all the swag of a young peacock. Like I just, I'm going to buy everything I need to make furniture. And there was a guy in there who was one of the salesmen. And I had the young naivete of somebody who said like, hey, please tell me all the things I need to make furniture. And he proceeded to walk around and say like, you need this, you need this, you need this, you need X, Y, Z. And the overwhelming majority of the things I bought that day were absolute garbage and not in any way necessary to make furniture. That was one of those things. However, it is a 12-inch square and it has stayed true over 15 plus years. So there is that. It is, but that was that was my first experience buying tools for and then I tried to go home and cut bridle joints on my IKEA coffee table and very promptly broke my coffee table. So we all start somewhere. Best glue for veneers. I don't want to use contact cement. Don't use contact cement. It will come up. Best glue for veneers is, listen, Titebond 1 works. I've used it for 15 years. It's great. It holds up. A lot of people like Unibond because it's more rigid. That's totally fair. I don't like kind of the two-part. If I'm going to mix up a two-part, I might as well just use epoxy, throw some silica in there and thicken it up and spread it like peanut butter. And I have just been experimenting with urethane glues, and I got to be honest with you, delightful, really, really fantastic so far. Let's see. Have I ever heard of Plain Wellness? It's a nonprofit helping veterans getting into woodworking. I have not. That's fantastic. David, excuse me. If you would be so kind as to maybe shoot me a DM or an email or something with the information on that. I would love to hear more about that. Let's see. When you have the option to do the same thing with a power tool or a hand tool, which one would you use? Is there any general preference in terms of quality? No. Quality, it's 6 of one, half dozen the other. Depends on the mood I'm in. Depends on the time of day. Depends on the deadline. If I just need to get it done and I can do it quickly on a machine, then I'm going to do that. If I need it to be right and accurate and I need a moment of silence. I'm going to do it with hand tools. That's all. That's all there is to it. That goes from everything from surfacing to cutting dovetails. I'll cut a dovetail on a bandsaw. I'll cut a dovetail with a handsaw. Did I say that right? That sounded susical. I think I said that right. You know what I'm saying. Are you going to be crazy and try to do 52 videos again this year? Absolutely not. That almost broke me as a human being. No. I think I'm going to do one more year of every other week. And that seems to be a pretty decent pace. But I also recognize that even that is going to shift at some point. I don't know how or when. I don't know what the volume looks like. But right now, between commissions, between 24 videos roughly, and the teaching schedule, it's a lot. It's a lot. So I don't know what that looks like for 2026. But for 2025, we're going to do every other week again. By the way, I've learned a lot from you. Thank you. You're very welcome, Chris. I appreciate that. I hope it's been valuable information. Any thoughts on tiny variances when using machine tools? Tiny variances. Do you mean like the run out of a drill, like a drill press? Because I don't care about that, if I'm honest. No, I've known some folks who like really get in there and like take machining measurements, and to me, it doesn't matter, if it works, if it's tight enough that when you glue it up, it doesn't fall apart, it's good enough. Let's see. What's your favorite wood to work with and why? I don't know. I don't have a favorite wood. I have favorite pieces. Hey, Alex is in the house. My brother's in the house. It's a good looking beard. Listen, sir, just trying to be like you when I grow up. I live a bit far from lumber yards. Do you recommend buying wood online? I've never bought wood online, if I'm honest, outside of veneers. I'm very particular about grain orientation and materials themselves. I know some really good craftspeople who do buy wood online. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I just feel like, in fairness, I live in the mecca of hardwoods. Pennsylvania and Ohio are basically where the majority of American hardwoods come from. That's an overstatement, but you know what I'm saying. So within an hour of me are 3 of the best lumber yards I've ever been to. And there's just an overwhelming flow. So I understand that's a privilege that I have, but yeah, try it, buy it. I would say maybe budget for a little bit more waste just in case. So like I usually budget for around 10 to 15% waste, maybe budget for 20% just in case. But the standards, the quality standards are not different online. So if you're buying FAS, what that means is that stands for first and seconds. That means that I think it's up to 10% of the material is allowed to be considered waste, working around knots and whatnot. And then, so like, that's going to be the same whether you buy it in person or online. So, and if you're buying, why am I blanking on the next stage? First and seconds. The rankings are going to be standard. It's just like plywood. If you're buying A1, A2, B1, et cetera, whether you buy it online or in person, doesn't matter. Let's see. As the furniture comes within the next 10 to 20 years, do you think handcrafted woodworking will have less demand? No. The furniture that we grew up with, the furniture that our parents grew up with and grandparents grew up with, it was all mass-produced plastic garbage. I think that we are actually in a moment of higher desire for well-crafted and sustainable work. I think my generation it hasn't gotten to the place where it has the resources to buy one-off furniture yet, but I think we want to, and I think it will happen. I think less and less the draw of industry and production is, I don't know how to finish that sentence. I think handmade goods will always have a place. Painting before the advent of photography was considered a craft, and then the photograph made painting obsolete, and then it became an art. And I think we're in a similar moment of transition where handmade furniture is obsolete because of CNC work and 3D printing, et cetera, and it's transitioning over the course of generations into an art form. And I don't think it will ever go away. I think there's something about it that gets imbued by people who are making things by hand, and I think that's impossible to escape. And there will always be a market for that. Let's see. The first batch I made of your finish it coagulated in a mason jar and formed whitish layer on top. Interesting. I don't know. Assuming that it wasn't a water-based poly that you mixed into the oil, which I think a fair amount of people make that mistake. And in fairness, that was a very early video of mine. There are a lot of details and bits of information that I, in retrospect, should have included, but didn't know enough to do so at that time. So assuming that it wasn't water-based polyurethane, could be bad poly, but the whitishness is what I don't know. I don't know. I'm sorry, I don't have a better answer for you. I've seen a film, but it's never been whitish. Old poly will develop a film when it's exposed to air, so it could just be old poly as well. What would be your dream? Who would be your dream collaborator? Oh, I don't know. I don't know. Probably Yuri. Yeah, I have so much admiration and affection for Yuri, but that wouldn't even be a collaboration, I don't think, because that's like if you're shooting hoops with LeBron James, you're not playing one-on-one. LeBron James is letting you win, like that's so. I don't know. Let's see. Have I ever turned a bowl? Sure. I used to turn a lot more than I do now. I like turning. I'm a functional turner. It's not my favorite thing. I get bored pretty quickly on a lathe. Hey, brother, you're a big inspiration for my woodworking company. Thanks for all the knowledge. I appreciate you, big country. I hope the business is going well. Let's see. How was Workbench Con this year? I didn't go. Oh, that was somebody else. Just kidding. Oh, let's see. Can I belly roll? I don't know what that means, dog. Did you enjoy your time on the Netflix series? I loved making that show. Really, truly. It was one of my favorite moments in time and experiences. So yes, 100%. I love all of those people. And I haven't rewatched it. I don't know how long it'll be before I rewatch it. But I'm really proud of what we put out. So let's see. Have I ever tried wood sculpture? Yeah, I've made a number of sculptures. The problem is, from a business perspective, they don't typically do well content-wise. And also, like, there are moments where I want to make a sculpture again, but at my heart, I'm a furniture maker. What was your output like when you started making content? I made 52 videos the first year because I'm a masochist and I needed those data points. I needed to figure out what would work and what wouldn't work. Beer or bourbon, and what's your favorite? Depends on the night. Currently, I'm drinking beer, largely because I'm out of bourbon in the shop. just depends on the night, you know? And like sometimes it's last night I had a couple of gin and tonics, you know? Sometimes you got to switch it up, man. Let's see. Hey, Eric, quick hello on my work break from Melbourne. Andrew, appreciate you, sir. You're a good man. I don't care what they say about you. Are there times when dowels can take the place of loose tendons? Absolutely. Listen, there's nothing wrong with dowels. Dowels have been used for millennia. They will continue to be used. Loose tendons are in some minutia better, but James Krenov used dowels for the majority of his career, and he is considered to be one of the best furniture makers, or most influential at a minimum, of the 20th century. So use dowels. Don't feel ashamed of that. Let's see. Even our hardwood in Maine comes from Ohio and PA. True statement. I have driven from CFC down to Boston to, I can't remember the name of the yard right now, but to go get lumber on a lumber run for the school, and happened to ask them like where they sourced it from, and it was from Groff and Groff, which is where I get most of my lumber. So, you know, there you go. Oh, let's see. Wit's in the house. Something off. How you doing? Congrats on your YouTube success. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Oh, let's see. Finally, a real world worker showed up. I hope you're not talking about Drew. That would be offensive to me and my people. Oh, let's see. Any recommendations or warnings for running a woodworking business in 25? I am not the person to ask for business advice. I am a terrible business person, and always have been. I would simply say, I hope you succeed, because it's a tough game out there, but it's worth doing. Let's see. How about an update on the video about making your finish? One day I'll do that at some point. Feels a little too soon to start, you know, revamping old videos. I've got too many ideas to get to right now. About 10 minutes behind on the comments. I am probably more than that. Let's be real. Let's see. Oh, you guys are just roasting Drew in the comments. Oh man, favorite collab: Bourbon Moth or Whitworks? Oh Jesus, both of those would be rough. I did a video with Jason a few years ago. I will say this. Jason, I think, takes a lot of heat on the internet because he's a goober. I love Jason. I've known Jason for many years. He is a sweet, sweet boy. Genuinely, when the cameras are off and nobody else is around, Jason is like a deeply genuine and kind and thoughtful human being. And he loves his wife and he loves his kid. And the thing with Jason is, like, the second a second person is around, he turns into clown Jason. And it's always very funny to watch that happen like that. Drew, we need to hang, buddy. Like, we need to do a proper hang where we're going to do a thing. But no, he's gone. He's already said he's going to binge Jason Bent's video. I'm sorry that you suffer from insomnia and you need a reason to fall asleep. That's fine. How much wood would a wood clamp if a wood clamp could clamp wood? 7 board feet. What's your workout regimen like? All upper body. That's it. Just curls all day long. That's all I do. Aside from the knowledge we get, funny as hell. I appreciate you, Gerald. What's your favorite joint and why is it a pocket hole? It's obviously a pocket hole because people hate them. Fun fact, I've been thinking about doing a video about the legitimacy of pocket holes because they've been around for like 1,000 years, and nobody thinks about them. Let's see. Started using my 3-part finish. Very happy. Glad to hear that. My Festool, guys, I'm almost caught up in the comments. Festool Conturo is arriving today, in part from Jason's best woodworking tool nobody knows. Is that the Edge Bander? I think that's the Edge Bander. I don't know. Who have been your content creator inspirations? Ooh, that's a good question. All right, I'm gonna get one more beer and I'm gonna slug it, and I'm gonna call it a quits in like 15 minutes or so. So hold, please. All right, let's see. Who have been my content creator inspirations outside of woodworking? I mean, kind of the big ones, the go-tos. Peter McKinnon, Casey Neistat. They're just really good filmmakers. Peter, I feel like, has shifted a lot. I don't know. I haven't watched any of his new stuff in a little while, but really, really good filmmakers. As far as the woodworking space goes, I don't know. I really wanted to not talk to camera for a long time because I thought that somehow delegitimized the thing that I was making and the craft I was doing. So like the Ishitanis of the world, I don't know how they attain success because it is literally impossible to be successful without talking to camera. And then you have these people like Ishitani who are just, I don't know why they're better than everybody else. I don't know why they succeeded. But that kind of thing. Who else is out there? Who else? I don't watch a lot of woodworking YouTube. Annie is the person who got me into making content in the first place, Anne of all trades. So it's her fault that you guys are all here right now. You know what? You know who I learned a lot from is Keith. Keith is not only a dear friend and a wonderful human being, and an insanely neurotic person who's hilarious to be around because of that. He's also he's very, very smart at the way that he approaches telling a story and doing the thing. And I think he's had a huge influence on how I approach making videos. Yeah, I think Keith doesn't get enough credit for the influence that he's had on how I approach making content. Let's see. Thank you for sending me to Hearn Hardwood. Hearn is a truly, truly a magical place. It is pricey, but it is worth going to for sure. Golden Monkey is one of those things that I miss from Ohio. Can you not get it up there? I mean, it is strong. It's a 9er, but let's see. Love your 3-part finish. Use it on cherry. Fantastic. How would you color hard maple to an antique? High is his then use your 3-part finish trans tint dyes. If I was going to tint maple, it would be trans tint. Maple will absorb, especially with any kind of curl, it will absorb pigment into the open pores very, very fast. So if I had to color it at all, which I would typically avoid doing, it would be with trans tint. Will there be a new episode of the Master Series of Woodworking is Bullshit? Absolutely. We're gonna dip back into that at some point. I should call Paul right now while we're doing the live and just put him on the spot. Let's see. What do you think has the best? Who do you think has the best woodworking channel, and why is it Biscuit Tree? Who does have the best woodworking channel? I don't know. Damn, that's a good question. I should know that. I should care more. Who has a good woodworking channel? I don't know. I don't know who has the best. You know who's really good? You know who's really good? Is Daisy. Daisy Tempest. Daisy's like she's got a quirkiness about her that's phenomenal. I also do deeply love Sam, DIY Huntress. Her tenacity to just go do a damn thing is phenomenal. Who else is out there? I don't know. I would have to think on that. Can I belly roll? I can't belly roll. I don't think I can. And if I were going to try to belly roll for the first time, it wouldn't be during a live stream on the internet, sir or madam. I love your videos, learn a lot from you, and like the way you explain things with your unique style. If you could explain a little bit more about the techniques doing complicated or complex stuff, that would be awesome. I appreciate that, and I'm glad that you get a lot out of that. I hope that I, in time, can develop into taking a bit more time to talk about the complex issues that arise during these things, but it is hard to balance that, because this is like the Venn diagram of how many people are like starting woodworking versus how many people want like super advanced techniques and deep information on there. From a business perspective, that's a hard thing to balance. I hope I can get there at some point. For what it's worth, I just put this up in my stories yesterday on Instagram. Adrian Ferrazzuti is currently doing kind of a revisiting, making this particular chair that he's made for a number of years. And the content he's putting out on Instagram right now it might be the most honest content I've seen from somebody who is like a profoundly exceptional not only designer but like crafts person. And go check it out if you want that kind of like, this is the thing that happened and I don't know why it happened and I'm going to figure out and here's the solution. Just go check out this story he's putting up, or like a series he's putting up in his feed. Let's see. Do you have your own hair mix? Because my hair looks good. Wash it. You know, a little coconut oil every now and again, and like keep it. You know, I don't know. Let's see. The progression from your first videos to your current format, I think you really nailed with your style of videos. I appreciate that, man. It's hard to find a voice, but hopefully that comes through in a genuine way. Look, I mean, to whoever said it earlier, I know I can come off as pretentious. I'm aware that that's a thing. I like flowery language sometimes. I like to say words because I use complex words as a way of avoiding talking about my own emotions. If you want to get into a conversation with my own therapist, but I do like, I love this vehicle, this craft, this material, this medium. And my aim is to A, do it justice, and B, to express to you all that that growth isn't linear and that it's still worth chasing. And that's part of the reason why I still leave bad videos up, and I still make bad videos. Like there are times where like I look back on it a couple of weeks or months later and I'm like, oh, that was a B effort at best. But I think it's important to look back at like the first videos I made, which I could take down. I know a lot of YouTubers do take those down, especially when they're not making ad revenue anymore. And I think it's important to see that progression, because I wasn't good when I started. And I don't know that I'm good now. I'm better now, but I don't know that I'm good now. So I don't know. I don't know where that's going. I'm glad that you're getting a lot out of it. Hopefully that continues to be true. Do you watch Worth the Effort? I've seen his stuff. I've talked to him a number of times. He seems like a stand-up guy. Lot of good practical information in there. What's the better emo band, The Used or My Chemical Romance? It's My Chemical Romance. What kind of question is that, dog? It's easily MCR. Like you're gonna look me dead in the eyeballs and tell me Helene is not a banger. Look me in the eyeballs. Tell me Helene is not a banger. Get out of here with that question. Let's see. I like your videos when you just have some fun, whimsical stuff like the Final Fantasy inlay. See, this. Is that Mara? No, that's not Mara. That's such a tricky thing because I loved that project and I loved that video and it tanked so hard because this is like, from the business perspective, the more specific you get, the higher the risk you take. Now it could pop off because, you know, the universal is in the specific, but when you're talking about like projects like this, details like this, I would love to do a series where it's nothing but absolute nonsense and frivolity and me just making stupid things. But I also know, like, I can't alienate the entirety of my audience as well. You know, like I don't know. This is like if you're working with a client and like the client wants it to be one thing and you go like, yeah, but it should be this other thing. How do you get them to that other thing? I don't know. Let's see. Myriad of beers, calling Uber. It's 2 beers, bro. Come on now. I thought you used complex words by accident and in turn confuses you. Sometimes they do come out of my mouth wrong. The discussion that you bring to the table about design, the touch factor, and the grain orientation and shape has been huge in changing the way I think about projects for the better. Thank you, man. I'm really glad to hear that. I'll let you guys in on kind of my perspective of making content. I'm sure you all know that the internet tends to skew loudly negative, right? If it were like not a Venn diagram. I'm blanking on the guy who made, it starts with a P. You know the quadrants. Oh, somebody's gonna say it in the comment, and I'll see it in 10 minutes. In any case, if there are 4 quadrants of like quiet nice, quiet loud, quiet negative, loud negative, the internet tends to skew loud negative. And so I put out content with the hope that it helps people and encourages people, but it's so fundamentally different from teaching a class where I can read the reactions and I can engage in like a human moment with people. So that's what I'm trying to say is I appreciate that positive feedback. And I'm really glad to hear that it's had a positive impact. I need a moderator in here. You're probably not wrong. I don't know. Look, guys, I just decided to go live on YouTube for no reason whatsoever. So, you know, what is a belly roll? Is this like a belly dance? What is happening? I keep seeing this pop up. Let's see. Like your commissions, make a plaything to decompress before you go into the next one. So do another Final Fantasy build or something like that. Absolutely. Right now I'm ramping up for the teaching season, so I'm building multiple things. Guys, we've been here for an hour and 15 minutes and I haven't touched on any of the things that I'm actually doing because I've just been answering questions, but I appreciate that. Oh, let's see. Eisenhower Matrix? No, but that sounds way fancier than what I was trying to say. What is the word I was thinking of? It's not like Pendleton or something like that. You know, like the gene thing where it's like blue eyes, brown eyes, and what they get. You know what I'm saying. Punnett square. Thank you. That's exactly what it was. I was there. I was almost there. Oh, all right. Let's see. Do you edit your own videos or is it done by a professional? Yes and no. I have an editor to take kind of the bulk of the work off of my plate. Isabel's fantastic. She deals with a lot of my chaos very, very well. But essentially what I would say is what she puts back to me is like kind of like maybe like an 85 to 90% edit. It's like it's got all of the framework in there, and that saves me like a day of work. And then I come in and finesse things, move things around. You know, I'm very particular about the cut scenes in the music montages, that things are on beat and that it has some dramatic tension. And that's, I can't put that on her because that's just my like OCD coming out. And you know, a couple of cutaway gags, things like that. So that's what I come in and sprinkle in. So both end. Oh, let's see. 74 years old and I don't And with the cost of wood these days, I do a lot of woodworking at present, but I do look forward to Saturday mornings. Richard, I appreciate you, sir. You're a good man. I don't care what they say about you. Where are you teaching classes this year? Let's see. Florida School of Woodworking next week. Mark Adams in mid-April. CFC in mid-July. And to my understanding, Hatch Space in mid-August. But those are the only 4 classes I have on the schedule right now. Florida's sold out, I know that. And Mark Adams still has some places available. So if you're interested, go check that out. That's going to be a banger. Which, all right, we need to talk about the things I've been working on. Or we don't, whatever, if you guys are vibing on this. I think I'm going to write you a theme song. What's my favorite style of music? You know what I've really wanted to do? Honest to goodness. This is something I've really wanted to do. I want to have like a theme song about people that we have on the podcast. I would love to do that on the YouTube channel, but I don't think that I don't have enough guests on the YouTube channel to warrant that. It would basically be like Larissa and Sam, although Larissa having a theme song every time she was on would be amazing. But to have like, for the recurring guests, right? Like Conrad, Jen, those kinds of people, just have like a little sound drop in there where we could cut that away. That would be amazing. That's what I want. Commissions, Playtime TV, YouTube editing. How? Coffee. That's how. Do you not imbibe? Let's see. Eisenhower Matrix was a 2-axis graph about tasks. That sounds way smarter than I am. Whatever that is. Can you please move your distant handsaw that's underneath the custom Japanese saw about 1.5 inches to the right so they line up vertically? I don't have a distant saw under. Talk about that one? Because I don't have any saws in there, dog. That's just that. Or are you talking about behind the door? Oh, no, I can't do that. No. Sorry, my friends. Let's see. Where do you listen to the podcast? Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever makes you happy, Quick, show us what you're working on before you run out of time. That's a great question. All right. I'm going to do this and then I'm getting out of here. So these pieces are for the Florida School of Woodworking next week. Got this box, which is going to be like a warm-up project. Got this little cabinet, which is going to be super, super simple. It's got some sliding dovetails and tenons in there, which is a delight. And then this table is going to be the third project that week. It's very, very simple. But the important thing to note about that is I have been experimenting with a new finish, and so far, delightful. So maybe we can touch on that in a future iteration. And then this is what I've been working on for the Mark Adams School. So this is going to end up being a hall table. But the important thing to note on this, 2 things. Number 1, I've been experimenting with urethane glue. Let's see. Can you see any remnants in there? There you go. A little bit. No, not really. So I've been experimenting with veneering over solid using urethane glue. But here's the thing. So this is just a single-faced veneer. And veneering over one side of a thing, traditionally a no-no. But the experience I've had with it so far, viable option. So that's going to be the video that comes out on Saturday, is talking about that and why or why not that actually could be a thing that happens under certain circumstances in the future. So, well, friends, this is, I was planning on being here for maybe half an hour, and now we're an hour and a half into it. So thanks for coming. Thanks for hanging. I hope this was enjoyable. I don't know why I decided to do this tonight. I just decided that I was going to talk at the internet for a little while. I hope everybody's doing well. I hope everybody is safe and warm and well fed. And I hope everybody has a nice space to go make a thing in, and that it brings you some joy. So, you know, be good making decisions as always. And thanks for coming out and hanging. And maybe at some point in the future, I'll do it again. We will see. But until then, friends, go make a thing. Cheers.